deal with pregnancy in an aware manner. When a child is expected, it is normal, healthy, and also very important to know what development steps are taking place in the mother's womb, and how to ensure the best way that the child develops well. Every conscious mother wants to create the development opportunities best possible for the growing life in her. It is very important for us to know and understand what steps children and mothers go through. We want healthy, bright, and intelligent children and grandchildren for the world that comes after us. That is why it is so fundamental for us to know what is the best nutrition for us, what quality food to have, the quantities we eat, and what is beneficial to our well-being, to avoid complications, diseases, and defects. But besides the interest in what is physically going on, many people wonder what happens spiritually in a pregnancy, what happens during conception. When we look into the pure eyes of our beautiful white children, we ask ourselves with astonishment when suddenly in special moments we see this spark of soul flashing in their eyes, their true self. Where does your soul come from, little one? Oh, when we watch our children and see so much new but also familiar things in them, many parents are filled with awe. They ask, how could this child come into our family? Rudolf Steiner has also dealt with this topic. I do not want you to see his answers as the only right response, but as a help to understand. I would like to encourage you also to make your own thoughts, and above all, to consider life from a new, deeper point of view. The incarnation process through which the human ego, the consciousness of self, descends to the earthly life in the course of the reincarnation process has been discussed in detail in many lectures by Rudolf Steiner. Quote, the materialistic view is that which thinks that man creates his physical existence consisting of physical substances, and that, according to this view, these material substances produce the spiritual intuition, then pursues some material phenomenon by asking, for example, what is going on in the organism, what is going on in the fine functions which occur in the brain, when a feeling, when an idea is in us. To one who is aware of the psychic side, is aware that this body has not built itself up, knows that the body has been selected by its own higher man who lives in it. Creation does not mean what we call creation today, but it means the soul of man, the psyche, which comes from other regions, has chosen this body so that it is an instrument for it to pursue those goals that originate in a higher world. Quote end. When we have passed through the midnight hour between death and new birth, and the descent to a new incarnation begins, the search for a suitable parent pair begins, through which we can find the most suitable incarnations conditions on earth. To be more precise, long before this couple was born, the soul connects with the whole ancestral line that leads to it. This often happened centuries before their birth. Today, however, the time between two incarnations is usually much shorter, so that only limited time is available for this search. The I, in particular, is looking for the relationship to the father. The astral body urges to the mother. The etheric body, which, however, develops much later, draws us especially to a certain nation or folk. Immediately with the conception, the spiritual germ of the physical body unites with the physical germ, surrounded by an etheric and astral surrounding in the mother's womb. Our ego, our own astral body, and our own etheric body only join the fertilized germ in the 3rd to 4th week of gestation. Until then, the higher bodies or members of the being only act from outside. At about this time, from the 23rd to 24th day of pregnancy, the heart center has already been trained so far that it starts to pulse independently. The connection of the higher beings with the physical body, however, begins somewhat earlier, about the 17th day. This must also be so because ultimately the ego or self starts the heart to beat. How do the forces of work to bring man into a new incarnation? 1,000 years pass between death and the new incarnation, as we have seen, in which time the soul matures to return to a new birth. Nowadays, the time spans are much shorter. Depending on the powers that are absorbed, man collects the whole astral matter around him. With a good past life, he collects other material than with a bad one. Steiner also says, "It is not always possible to find a pair of parents who fit perfectly with the human germ. Only the most suitable can be selected. And just as a physical body can be built which exactly matches the etheric body of the human being, there can never be complete harmony. This is the reason why there are differences between the man, his physical body, and the soul." Immediately before the incarnation, a very important event occurs, parallel to the moment of death. Just as after death, the recollection of the past life, like a representation, takes place before the soul, a kind of preface to the coming life is present immediately before the incorporation. One does not see all the details, but in large outline all the conditions in the coming life. This moment is of immense importance. We have lived in earlier incarnations. We have passed through the spiritual world. There we were spirit. The mind goes down through the astral world and surrounds itself with the astral substance. This is what man brings back from the former life and what he attracts from the astral sphere. These two things are the things the man brings, the spiritual and the astral. The bright light, these are the abilities brought along from previous lives. They enter after the being has satisfied the burning desire to be connected with an astral organism. From that moment, the human germ grows, not only through physical force, but also from within. What he has gained in past lives now works from within on the making of the body. Not your organism builds your soul. but your soul builds up your organism. The human germ is only a few days old when it's united with the soul. It is the only thing that is given us from the outside. It is given us by definite laws. In fact, we understand the birth and death of man only when we know from which two beings he consists, and how these two beings, which form the whole human being, have united together. It is thus that we ourselves are working on our external organs. They are not a product of the external world. They are an image of what we have brought along.